The Obsidian Blades are a Codex Deviant Space Marine chapter of Raven Guard stock. Their heritage and gene seed lineage already leans them towards a more reserved, practical and cunning approach to war, which has only been exacerbated in recent centuries as the chapter has faced many hardships and near extinctions. They believe in ensuring the battle is won before a single shot is fired, sabotaging key structures and poisoning enemy supplies so that when the Obsidian Blades do emerge from the shadows like ghosts, the enemy is already weakened and debilitated. They creep forward under the cover of darkness and stealth, eviscerating lookouts and watchmen silently, utilising combat knives, the use of which the Obsidian Blades have perfected. Founded in a disastrous 21st founding, the Adeptus Mechanicus Biologus Technomagi sought to restore the use of degenerated Betcher's gland and mucinoid that had long been absent in the Astartes of the Raven Guard lineage. The results were mixed, with restoration of the mucinoid being non-conclusive, and the Betcher's gland becoming overproductive and mutated. The already sparse members of the Raven Guard gene family, due to implementation issues and gene rejection, is depleted further still within the Obsidian Blades, due to the horrifically disastrous damage wrought upon them at the hands of the Alpha Legion. As happened with many chapters of the Cursed 21st founding, the gene seed of the Obsidian Blades chapter was tampered with and altered in an attempt to restore the use of mucinoid and Betcher's glands. Neither venture could be considered a success, and soon the still flawed chapter was pressed into service, where it served with moderate distinction as a chapter excelling in urban warfare and close quarters firefights. They were seen employing much older marks of armour and jump packs than normally seen within the chapters of the Imperium. While executing a campaign against the Tau occupiers of the plain Xiphon, the Obsidian Blades were deceived, assuming their opponents just as Xenos invaders. They executed their battle plan with little thought to the local population and what may have occurred to them since the Tau's occupation. In their presence, faith in the God Emperor had weakened, and in its absence, heresy had festered. In the time since the Tau occupation, agents of the Alpha Legion had infiltrated the oppressed human population and spread dissent and chaos. When the Obsidian Blades made planetfall at full chapter strength, they executed their campaign without thought to the potential betrayal of the local population. When they besieged the planetary capital, the fighting was fierce. Entrenched Tau forces preferred impressive defensive capabilities and had the supplies to last potentially years. The fall came from the incited and dissident human population of the city, who rose up against their Tau overlords, led in secret by the Alpha Legion insurrectionists. When the siege was broken, dismantled from within by ferocious hordes of Imperial citizens, the Obsidian Blades expected to be welcomed into the city as heroes and saviours. Instead, the moment their forces relocated inside the city, they were turned upon by the blood-drunk and heretical Imperial citizens. Crushed by the massed throngs of now Chaos cultists, the beleaguered and exhausted remains of the Obsidian Blades were ruthlessly torn apart by concentrated gunfire and ripped limb from limb by hundreds of cultists. Tanks were swarmed and destroyed, explosives strapped to their undercarriages, left immobile and desecrated. Those few Marines that managed to evade or fight free of the hordes retreated into the bowels of the High City, to survive and continue fighting a war in the shadows. Months went by as the Marines fought a more and more desperate guerrilla war with the city's inhabitants, trying to find some way to contact their fleets in orbit and not send reinforcements for fear of the anti-aircraft guns that armed the city, and not possessing enough troops and armour to attempt another siege. Their only hope was to disable the anti-aircraft guns and signal the fleet to enact a retreat from orbit. Months of secrecy and desperation dragged by, as the capital fell further and further into darkness. Finally, they were able to breach the Imperial Palace and disable the anti-aircraft guns that protected the city's skies, and send a message to their ships in orbit. Their fury unleashed, the Obsidian Blades' aerial support descended upon the city in a wave of fire and death. The remaining Marines in the city rallied to the defense gun control deck, making their stand until they could be evacuated. For once they were off-world, the whole world would be bombed from orbit. As they were evacuated on transports to orbit, the city burned and their vengeance was enacted. Only 200 Marines escaped that campaign. The elusive and secretive chapter keep much to themselves, and so official records of their customs or belief are few and far between, mostly compiled from scattered battlefield reports and the minimal contact the chapter keeps with other Imperial forces. One aspect of the Obsidian Blades that is uniform amongst the reports is the borderline obsessive pragmatism with which they hold themselves and their allies. If something can be done to enhance their battlefield prowess, it will be done, This can be anything from arming squads with unusual equipment to repainting their usually sacred chapter colours with camouflage patterns that do not always comply with traditional Astartes patterns. Another cultural oddity is the strange reverence from which they hold their combat blades, which act as spiritual items, assassination tools, and achievement markers.